Let's look at outsourcing to the Philippines, and at the end of this I'll give you a list of pros and cons. I had an export business in the Philippines for 13 years. I lived there for 6 years, and I also had an office where I had 4 workers who were making websites and other stuff for me. Since then I've outsourced online in the Philippines, maybe 7 or 8 workers, and I've used this website, onlinejobs.ph. It's pretty good because you can, first of all, search for the people you want. So an example here, I might want SEO. And we got 9,280 people who can do SEO. You might want to then narrow it down more. You can put the maximum salary here. It's in pesos. 20,000, it's about $300. You can also narrow it down to this employment type. So you're just looking for full-time. Then you've got this is kind of proving their identity. Maybe they've uploaded a passport or their Facebook profile, things like that. You might want to just narrow it down to the people who have proved their ID the most. You can see when they were active. So if they weren't active in the last month, then maybe they're not still looking. So you can do that. And then you can do these ones here, or even put some more filters on here. So in this advanced skills search, you can actually look for some specific things that you're looking for. Maybe you want graphics and multimedia, and you can find someone who's got 5 stars or 4 stars for that. How they do this is the people can actually put their own skills in there. They can rate themselves, but they're only allowed to rate a certain amount. Maybe it's 8 or 10 different skills. So they can say what they're good at, but they're only allowed to say the top 8. So then you can do a search on those. So that's one way, and that's to find people. Another way is to actually post a job. So if you go here and click post a job, then you can put in the job that you actually want them to do, and then they'll actually apply for it. What I normally do is I post a job, but then I also contact some people that I think would be good at it and tell them to apply if they want to. Now, there's some things that I always do when I do this. Some people would just apply for every job, and it's really easy. They can just say, I'm good at this, please give me an interview. I don't like that because sometimes they're not even reading the job. So I always put a question in there. So for example, if it's a Photoshop job, I might ask them a question about Photoshop, like how do you show the layers panel or something like that. And then I just tell them at the top that I'm going to ask the question. At the bottom, I actually put the question. And then people who don't answer that question, then I'll filter them out completely. So that's how I get a short list of people. And then I'll normally give them a paid test. Maybe it's something that will take about 4 hours, and I'll look at their salary and decide how much I'm going to give for that 4 hours. And I'll give a test on that thing, and then I'll decide from there. You tend to find people drop out along the way. Once you give the test, if someone can't do it, they just won't contact you again. And the people who can will come back to you. And then if you want, if you've still got several people, you can give a longer test or give them a trial, maybe 2 days or 1 week, and give several people a trial. And then at the end of it, pick the best. One way I train them is I make videos. So I make short videos, and I just find that's the easiest way. Rather than Skype, I make a video, they follow the video, and then send the results. I haven't interviewed them on Skype, but you might want to do that. I think maybe I spoke to one of them on Skype, but my jobs that I was giving out were all things on Photoshop. So it were things that I wanted them to send back the results. I didn't really need to talk to them. And as long as they understood my written instructions, it was okay. So let's look at the pros and cons then. So the first good thing is that you get a lot of skilled workers, especially in IT, like Photoshop, graphic design, programming, things like that. The second one is that they speak English. Their education from high school and above is all in English, and all their textbooks are in English. So they have to speak English to be able to get a degree or something like that, and quite technical and advanced English. The third one is that it's a low cost. I think the last person I had, I was paying about $200 a month, slightly over. And the other thing, at the end of 12 months, you do normally give them a 1 month bonus at Christmas. Of course, the more skilled they are, you'll pay a bit more, but it doesn't always work like that, because certain areas of the Philippines are actually cheaper to live than others. Like down in Mindanao is cheaper, and the Visayas are cheaper than Manila. Let's look at some of the cons then. So the first one here is finding the best. And it's quite difficult wherever you're outsourcing to, because you can't see them and talk to them. It's a little bit more difficult. So you have to keep narrowing it down. So as I said, the first thing, I ask a question on the actual job spec. And if they don't answer that, I narrow those people out. The second thing is to give them a short paid test, and then I narrow it down by that, and then give a longer paid test or a trial. The second one here is brownouts. This can be a problem, especially in the south. And the last person that I had working for me, I had to buy a power unit for them. And it wasn't so expensive. I forget exactly, maybe $100, but I needed to do that just so they could keep working throughout the brownouts. Also, sometimes internet can be a problem in certain areas, so you need to check that out. I quite often get them to send me a speed test from their internet so I can see that they can upload okay. The third one is that they can be quite shy, and there's a couple of problems around this. One is that sometimes they'll have a problem and they won't tell you. They'll just try and work through it. And you have to encourage them and say to them at the beginning, look, if there's any problems, tell me, because if you don't tell me, then I can't sort it out. And the other thing, sometimes they'll just disappear because they're afraid to confront you. They would rather just not do anything and just don't contact you. So I've had this on occasions where they've just disappeared and didn't reply to my email. It doesn't happen that often, but it can happen, and it's just something to be aware of. So if we look overall, is it worth outsourcing to the Philippines? Then I say yes, I've done it in the past, and I'll probably do it again this year once I've got some more things to outsource. I probably will go to the Philippines and get some people, because it is quicker to see them face to face. And I'm in Asia anyway, so it's pretty easy for me. I don't mind where I live, I move around. But you can still do it, you just have to take the steps that I've said.